they're not just going after, protesters. They're not just talking about like, hey, we're going to be detaining people on the streets, this, that, and the other. They're also now, throwing members of Congress to the ground in press conferences. Senator Padilla went to go what was he doing at Kristi Noem's press conference exactly before he got dragged out of there?
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you brought this into focus, because I have to tell you, Desmond, when I started reading about, or excuse me, watching the video yesterday of what happened to the senator, I felt physically ill, because to me, this is like just another level. If they're going to do this to him in broad daylight with cameras rolling, what are they going to do to you or me, right? Yeah. And this was from the BBC, but this was all over the news cycles yesterday. Democratic US Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from a news conference held by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in Los Angeles on Thursday, and he was placed in handcuffs. Noem was giving an update on immigration enforcement after nearly a week of protests when Padilla interrupted and shouted a question. "I'm Senator Padilla," then he said, as he was confronted by authorities, "and I have questions for the secretary." He was asking a question as a representative of his constituents, demanding accountability at a public press conference. That's correct, Michelle, in a public forum, asking basically probably like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell's going on? And instead he was met with violence. The senator struggled with multiple Secret Service agents, and you can see from the video, he is physically being pushed out of the room. He is being pushed out of the room. He was dragged away before uniformed FBI agents placed him on the ground and arrested him. They also tried to stop the civilian who was filming the incident, saying that the civilian was not allowed back there where they were handcuffing him and detaining him. I mean, they had him on the ground, 3 of them, knees on his back energy. Okay, this was a wild situation. Noem was speaking about immigration and the protests in LA. She continued addressing reporters and law enforcement. And then they skewed this later on, Desmond, and Noem made it sound like the senator was being incredibly aggressive. And then Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said that the senator should be censured for what he did. What did he do? He asked a question. And I want to also bring into light this idea that you have to be polite in order to be heard. You're allowed to be disrespectful in how you speak, by the way. You're allowed to be aggressive in your tone of voice, okay? Like this idea that we're analyzing whether or not he deserved to be thrown on the ground. That's the part that really upset me yesterday from the media in general, was the way that they were trying to both sides this BS. It's like, no, guys, he was literally thrown to the ground and cuffed because he asked a question in a public forum, period.
Okay. Want to focus on the media part here for a second.
Yes.
Right? When you watch cable news or when you see these giant corporations, print journalism outlets, New York Times, Washington Post, so on and so forth, giving both sides of the story to this kind of a story is essentially giving, centering the conversation around the oppressor. So to
Amen.
speak. That is something that you continuously see from these corporate outlets.
Yep.
If you do not like that, if you think that there is a problem with how they're portraying the news, with how they are not covering the news well enough, if you notice that CNN and MSNBC have a much more docile tone this time around compared to the first Trump term, when the first Trump term was actually nowhere near as bad as the current Trump term. I'm just saying, if we're actually comparing them, like this one is dramatically worse. If you really feel that way, then you can click on the top of the screen right now and subscribe to both of our Substacks, because we are here to give you the real news. And if you have the ability to, you should sign up to be a paid subscriber of Natalie Bencivenga's Facts Over Fear. So that's how I feel about that. But more importantly here, it is comical that you would phrase it any other way than what it is. Because let's role reverse this for a second here, right?
All right.
If Joe Biden sent the National Guard into red states and said that he was going to keep them there until they were liberated from this, conservative, fascist ideology, they would melt down. Yes. They would absolutely melt down. If the Biden-appointed Secretary of DHS had a Republican senator thrown to the ground and detained, they would be melting down. You would never hear the end of it.
That's
If
right.
Biden had an unelected person operating out of a department that did not exist, raiding the US Treasury, they would be talking about a crazy expansion of the government and how he was destroying the Constitution in real time, so on and so forth. If Biden was ignoring the Supreme Court and just doing whatever the hell he wanted to anyway, they would be losing their damn minds. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And so meanwhile, Trump is doing all this. Not only are the Republicans acting as if this is all completely normal,
Yes.
but we also are seeing a meek, just absolutely nothing response from so far from the Democrats. You have Hakeem Jeffries in the House chamber the other day, like doing a demonstration with an Elmo puppet. Are you kidding me? Like, what is going on right now? We need a real Democratic Party to truly combat what we are seeing right now. This is fascism, Natalie. They are weaponizing the government in ways that we have never seen before. And our party's response to it is like,
we're going to write a strongly worded letter.
What are we doing here? I am so absolutely disgusted by the ineffectiveness of our elected leaders to do anything. Some of them can't even muster a tweet, Natalie.
I know.
Like, they can't even muster a tweet. If you can't even speak up, then you need to be, like, honestly, wherever you fell on this whole David Hogg thing, I gotta say, it boggles my mind that someone could actually be let's get rid of ineffective Democrats. If you actually believe in the Democratic Party and truly competing with the Republican Party, then you should be all for, we need to get stronger leaders in there for us to fight back against those people. It just seems like common sense to me.
But I think you're assuming that they want to fight back against those people.
I hope that everyone would assume that.
I don't know if that's the case. And I think that's where things are going to get really messy, because I think we've assumed, not you and I assumed, but we collectively assumed that the people representing us are representing the interests of the people, and they're not. They're representing the interests of the billionaire class and of multinational corporations that have bought and paid for them through these elections. And I think unless we want to see a real working people's party, we've got to change the system. And it's not going to come from the people in the system that are going to do it. And so I say, at what point does this start to become a very different situation? And I think that is why they are ramping up the defensive aggression towards protesters, because I do believe we are seeing the seeds of a people's movement being planted. And unfortunately, Desmond, and I love this analogy, but I don't love it for this scenario, this may be a tree that we never get to sit under, right? Where it's like, I don't know how long of an arc this will be for the United States, because we have yet to reckon with the reality that we have become incredibly comfortable in our isolation. We've become incredibly comfortable in not necessarily needing one another. And I know you don't watch The Last of Us, and I promise I'm not going to take us on a tangent here, but
I'm very anti all things zombies. Conversation for another day.
I respect that. I respect that. But for the purposes of this conversation, if anybody watches The Last of Us, you know that they are all living, the non-zombies are all living in this small little community. And the way that they run their community is very much like a socialistic society. They have instead of a president or a leader, there's a panel of people, a council that handles all of the different judgments, and it's very egalitarian, and it's, there's a lot of women and people of color involved in the construct of the society. And I thought it was really interesting when I looked at that, and I said, that's because they need each other. That's because they need each other. And we haven't needed each other in the United States for a really long time. And I think that is why we have sown these seeds of suspicion of the other so easily, because we don't see the invisible work that is done that props up our comfortable little lives. And all of that is being shredded away now. and we're seeing what's happening behind that curtain. And so for me, this is the reckoning in the moment that we need to go through. This is the painful part of healing, you know, when you cut your hand and you just see it heal and you're like, oh, it's healed, but you didn't see the war that went on with all the little cells under the surface for it to heal. Like, we're in that now.
And real deep right now.
Yeah, I am, because this is really like the heart and soul of our nation. And I think that what's going on, our updates on fascism, are a real symptom of this war. And we are not, I used to say we're staring down the barrel of fascism. We're on the cliff. We're not. We're in fascism now. We're in it. We need to accept that. And then we need to figure out how the hell are we going to get out of it. And the only way we're getting out of it is together.